This is WARBIRD Radio.
Welcome to WARBIRD Radio. I'm Matt Jolly. We're talking today to P-51 demo pilot R.T. Dickson. He's also a historian, and he's just been in the warbird business a very, very, very long time. He's a CFI. He's just every rating you can think of, I think RT has it, including the proprietor and owner of one of the world's most expensive Super Cubs. And we'll talk about that later today. RT, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing great, Matt. How are you doing?
Did I get that right? One of the world's most expensive Super Cubs?
I can neither confirm nor deny, although my insurance company gave me a lot of pushback and I told them what the whole value was. So.
I love your Super Cub. To me, I mean, we think a lot alike in some stuff. We're friends. And the Super Cub, when you showed me the paint scheme on this thing, I instantly knew. I'm thinking it's the Gulf Hawk, which is one of the coolest paint schemes of all time, and you put it on a Super Cub.
Sadly, it's not many people are picking up on it. Now, it's interpreted for the Cub. A lot of the paint, the lines are classic Super Cub paint. But yeah, the colors and the sunburst on the wings
right.
and the horizontal are inspired by the Gulf Hawk. Yeah,
you didn't go out and buy a carbon Cub. You didn't do any of that stuff. And I'm just giving you a little hell over this because I think it's a funny story. But you had an old 1960s real Super Cub, sent it out to Alaska to be restored, and it's like every aircraft restoration story that's ever happened. It's always more expensive than what you think. So every time I talk to you, you'd be like, oh my God, you're not going to believe this, but I'm having to sell a kidney because we need a new landing gear and we needed this and it's a this and it's a that, and it just adds up. So
well, and what you didn't include in the intro is I'm a recovering banker. It's a 12-step process, and in addition to that, I have degrees in economics and finance. And the
you knew
short
better.
Short story is I should know better. Absolutely, I should know better.
But here we are.
Something about the cobbler's kids and barefoot or something. I don't know.
So you grew up doing this stuff. You grew up in the warbird business. Your dad, hardworking guy, and your whole family, just hardworking folks there in North Carolina. You had a big heating and air company down there.
Yeah, so a long time ago, back in the middle of the last century, wow, that makes it sound old, but my grandfather, who was a banker, worked for a small investment banking company, bought one of his portfolio companies, which was a heating and air distributorship, and it had about two stores at the time. And he and then his sons, my dad and his brother, and their brother-in-law kind of built that up over the years. So yeah, I grew up in an entrepreneurial family in the heating and air distribution business.
And now the rest is history. Your dad was a pilot and still flying to this day. And he got into an airplane, one of these obscure warbirds that he fell in love with, the Buckaroo, and saved one of them.
Anybody who knows what a Buckaroo is in love with it. It is, and I'm extremely privileged to be able to have some time in one. It's yes. So he owned a Swift back in the early 70s, just as I'm old enough to kind of sit up by myself, apparently, which, by the way, was the first plane I ever flew. 3 years old, on my knees in the right seat with a lap belt, because you got to remember safety first in the 70s.
Right.
And I have vague memories of this, but as the story goes, he looked over because I thought I was wearing a headset and goes, "Do you want to fly this?" And I grabbed the control yoke and immediately rolled it to one of the locks. And he said we were about inverted before he responded fast enough to recover the situation. But so he had a Swift. And the Buckaroo is derived from the Swift. It was an attempt by a Texas engineering and manufacturing company, otherwise known as Timco, which later became part of Ling Timco Vault and built amazing aircraft like the A7 Corsair II. But Timco built a lot of sub-assemblies for different airframes, including P-51s during the war. But the T-35 was their attempt at a trainer contract, and competed with the Fairchild T-31 and the Beechcraft T-34. So,
and we know how that went. I mean, there are a whole lot more T-34s than there are Timco Buckaroos floating around. How many Buckaroos are there left? Because there's. I'm going to let you get into the story because they did sell it, just not to where you're thinking.
Right. So the Air Force wound up not wanting the Buckaroo. However, the first aircraft, so the contract was competed twice with. I mean, we can see that in this day and age. Somebody throws a flag on the play and wants to recompete the contest, and that's what happened. The Fairchild T-31 actually won the contract first, but at that time, the Navy and Air Force didn't want to buy any trainers. It was sort of a weird thing. So Fairchild only built 2 of them, and if I remember correctly, only one still exists, and it's by the Navy designation, which is XNQ-1. And it looks like a very like a thinner version of the T-28 as a tail dragger.
Yeah,
radial engine.
I've seen the airplane before. I know you have too. It's floating around some of the Warbird stuff.
Yeah. But so when it was recompeted again, Fairchild wasn't in business, and the T-34 Mentor won. It was tricycle gear. The world was moving towards tricycle gear aircraft, and it performed a little bit better based on the engine they had in the Buckaroo, which was woefully underpowered for at the time. But they built about 19 of them. And Timco, after losing the contract, endeavored to continue to sell the platform as a counterinsurgency model. It was equipped with 230 caliber machine guns, 1 on each wing, and could carry up to 10 2.75-inch zero-rail rockets, unguided rockets, which the Saudi Buck, as we call it, which is owned by the Swift Museum Foundation, has one painted in Saudi colors, has the rockets on it, machine guns, and the original Franklin engine in it, and it's a little underpowered. Has been my experience, but
with rockets in 230 caliber,
yeah,
weighs a little more than a change of clothes. That's the
and a 165 horsepower motor. I mean, it's a little underpowered.
In its best day, 165.
I think it was 165. Yeah, Franklin motor, but.
Wow.
They sold 6 to Saudi Arabia. They sold 1 to Israel. They sold 1 to Greece. I think Italy bought 1. So they only built about 19 Buckaroos before it was over with. And Dad was fortunate along the way to buy, and he always called it his kit plane. I've got pictures when it showed up at the back of a tractor trailer. And, I learned from an early age how to budget and plan for an aircraft project. It took him 16 years to return it to flight.
But it came back, and it's still flying today. You're headquartered up there in Charlotte area, and
correct.
You keep that airplane there. Yeah, Concord.
Yep, Concord Regional Airport. We've got the Buckaroo up there. We've got Super Cub up there. Got Dad's got an Avion up there. Of course, Swamp Fox is based up there. And,
he's calling you right now. Here we go.
Somebody wants to sell me something. I'm sure.
I love that. So let's talk a little bit about as we close out the Buckaroo history. You're still flying the Buckaroo. I've seen you take it to several air shows, to include your home show, which is there at Warriors and Warbirds in Monroe, North Carolina. One of the great Warbird shows. Started out with the Bobs running it.
Yep.
And in fact, we're recording this in mid-July, and Tinkerbell, which was owned by the city of Monroe, just departed for its new home down there in Virginia Beach. But what a great airport and a great air show. And the Buckaroo has been there and has been a staple at that show for a number of years.
Yes, we've been blessed to be able to take it to that show and share the history with people. In addition with the Mustang, and honestly, nobody believes this, that the Buckaroo is more fun to fly than a Mustang.
I wouldn't know. I would never have had the privilege.
In my experience, it's similar in a lot of regards to the Chipmunk that you're familiar with, but it's light on the controls. It's very responsive, but it's solid. It flies in a lot of regards like the P-51. It just doesn't have the horsepower and sex appeal that the Mustang does. But
nor the bill at the gas pump, and we can talk about that in a little while. But the Buckaroo, just a great airplane, and it'd be fun to do a big walk around and all that kind of stuff. We need to do that.
We ought to do that. That'd be awesome. Yeah, get you up here and let you go fly.
I'm ready. I'm ready to go attempt it. Well, it's a fun airplane. I actually was driving through one day and I saw you, just on a whim, saw you landing the Buckaroo when I was up there doing Marine Week one year. And I think I think I wrote you back then, and it was Teresa Eamon and I were out running around, and you couldn't join us for dinner, but it was you were out doing something. But it's a fun airplane, easy airplane to spot, all polished. Let's talk about the Mustang. You've been doing this a long time, flying and participating in air shows. Do you want to say when you started? Because this is going to floor a lot of people, I think.
Well, like I said, I grew up at a young age, and Dad was always involved in the smaller airframes and smaller shows. I got to see Dwight Cross, Junior fly air shows, and a lot of the old timers and stuff. It was, grew up for the first 2 years of my life on Doug Creech's farm in North Carolina. And I doubt anybody remembers who Doug Creech was, but he was an old barnstormer. And got to meet a lot of the old personalities. So I kind of grew up in and around, and going to like Swift National events in Athens, Tennessee, or up in Kentucky in the early days is where they'd have them, Kentucky Dam State Park. But the first, I started flying the Buckaroo in shows back after it returned to flight status in 1990, so probably 91-ish.
Yeah.
Around with the Swifts, and then flew. We got 3 Buckaroos flying at one time, and I think it was the first time in like 50 years at Oshkosh in '92.
And ever since then, you've had a hand in it. And the cool thing is, you did it the right way, in my opinion. You took your time, you got into it, you got all of your ratings, including all of your instructor ratings, which I think gives you this different perspective when it comes to the routine that you're flying. Today, you fly Swamp Fox, a North American P-51, a gorgeous, gorgeous airplane. And I didn't even realize this, but years ago, on a visit out to Chino, looking at the P-38 that had just been restored there, and there were 2 Mustangs in a hangar, and we had a friend at the time who was showing them to us. One went to another friend, and I didn't know this, but the other one that we saw that day would become Swamp Fox, which I think is pretty darn cool.
It's, one of the most amazing things about the aviation community is how small it is. What a small world it is. I can't go anywhere without running into somebody who knows somebody I know, or knows an airplane that I've flown or sat in as a small child, or it's such a wonderful community to be part of. But so we bought Swamp Fox before it was Swamp Fox in 2012, coming out of restoration.
And the reason I tell that story is because I remember being so struck by the level of detail in this restoration and the quality of the workmanship that went into it. You see a lot of restorations, especially doing this since 2009 or whenever it was. 2009. You see a lot of them. Here we are, a number of years later. Swamp Fox still looks incredible. I mean, it really looks incredible.
Well, thank you. I try real hard to protect the history. I mean, that's my role. We're just trustees of the history for now, and I do the best I can to share it with as many people as I can at air shows, but protect it at the same time. And sometimes those interests conflict with each other. It's like, oh, go fly the show, but it's raining and it's polished, and it's always trying to walk that balance. But we try to take care of it because it's an important piece of history. And I appreciate you saying that.
And you chose the name because of the local history. In fact, let's talk a little bit about that, because this is such an important part of your life and the reason why you do this.
You're right. So the history behind Swamp Fox, a little bit of the history. So my grandfather was was in the Marines during World War II, and he was a nobody who did nothing, according to him. And the more you learn about his history, he actually fought on during the Battle of Okinawa and was wounded, was shot, and earned his Purple Heart there. And then they bandaged him up, and after a little R&R, he wound up staying in the theater. But and up until after the war, the fact is that as a huge supporter of our military, which has gotten to be so common over the past few decades, which is sort of a major shift after the Vietnam War, where nobody liked the military. A lot of people don't get close to the military and understand what they're about. And the fact of the matter is it's a team sport. And us Americans tend to really emphasize sort of the quarterbacks. I mean, we like the CEOs, we like movie stars, we like the quarterbacks. That's who we focus on. But it is a team sport, and there are a lot of nobodies that go out and just do their job and do their duty, and hopefully get to come home. And we found, in doing the research for Swamp Fox, this particular nose art that looked interesting. And the more we researched the pilot and found that the pilot was still alive, and Will, you interviewed Will years ago.
Yep.
What an unassuming, humble man who just went off and did his duty. And that just kind of fit. It kind of resonated with me, knowing a little bit about my grandfather at the time, that we need to do more of representing to the general public what it takes to be successful as a country. Focused on the military, focused on the warbirds, but it takes all of us pulling together and doing our job when called on. And of course, there's a little bit of humor, as you know. Will grew up in South Carolina, and being the smartass that he was, thought it would be humorous to name his plane after what the British considered a war criminal from the Revolutionary War. And,
Right.
And he got in a little bit of trouble over it as well, because his superiors didn't want to offend the British. But
but nonetheless, a great story, and what a guy!
Yeah.
I mean, the last time I saw him, it was down in Monroe at the air show, I think, and he was out there dancing at the big band hangar dance. I mean, and what a life that he had, and a remarkable time in Sunset there. I mean, it was just, like I said, it was dancing up until the day he wasn't, He was dancing up to the day he wasn't. He remained faithful and stood by the side of his wife. But at the same time, he'd come back, because we did several air shows together. Monroe was one of them, but he'd go around locally where he could. And, of course, all the girls would come out and go dance with him, and they put a kiss on his cheek. And I've got pictures of him. I mean, he's got 3 or 4, lipstick prints on his face. And what a guy!
And
what a
Kat,
guy.
His wife would, give him crap about it, but she loved it too. And he was in heaven over that. That was awesome.
Well, I love it, and I love your demo with Swamp Fox, and it's catching on. I told you this several years ago, and I don't know if you really believed me, but I said, your demo that you're doing with Swamp Fox it displays the aircraft well. It's not abusing the aircraft, and it looks good. It's a good routine. It's a solid routine, but more importantly, it's something that's sustainable. It's a sustainable routine with the airplane. You're not trying to prove anything the way you fly it, and it looks good, and to me, it's just an enjoyable sequence to watch the airplane go through. And it's starting to catch on. You're doing more and more air shows across the country. You've had a banner year this year with some of the shows that you're doing, and people are starting to notice. You were just in a TikTok video that I don't even think you knew about, that sort of popped up on your social media feed one morning, and that kind of stuff is invaluable, because someone's going to see that and go, "Man, what is that airplane?" And they're going to look it up, and that's how this happens.
I've seen several, either reels or TikTok videos or other things pop up where friends of mine Chef Pitts has tagged me in a couple of them. He'll go out. He's a great social media guy. He'll go out and see something, or you will, and see Swamp Fox is part of this video or reel, and they didn't tag me or Swamp Fox and didn't know to, and
they don't know to because you're not the guy that's out front and center, and that's where I'm going with this. For you, it's all about the history, but inadvertently, someone's going to go look that up. Some 16-year-old kid's going to go look that up and say, "What is a Swamp Fox?" And then they're going to read the stories of these guys.
It's interesting that I can share the history of the American Revolutionary War, which is kind of entertaining because the history of Francis Marion is not widely disseminated, even though Mel Gibson basically did a movie about him years ago. It was very loosely based on fact, but that's Hollywood. And then of course World War II and P-51. No, it's neat to be able to represent multiple venues of history. Kind of at the same time. And I love it. Kids will draw pictures of Swamp Fox and bring them up. I've seen Swamp Fox chalk art on sidewalks leaving air shows. And it's not about me. It's about the history. And thank you for your kind words about the demo. I'm the world's okayest pilot. Got the coffee mug to prove it.
Coffee mug to prove it. Stay with me real quick. Hang on one sec. I want to drop some big news here, and we're gonna figure out how to do this. But stay with us. We'll be right back after this with R.T. Dickson here on WARBIRD Radio. Stay with us.
This is WARBIRD Radio, reminding you that radio engines don't leak oil; they just mark their territory. This is WARBIRD Radio. Tune in. Take off.
We're talking to R.T. Dickson here on WARBIRD Radio. We're glad to be back with you. If you want to support the podcast, simply share it with your friends and stay tuned here on warbirdradio.com. If you know any good advertisers, we'd love to talk to them. We need your help here financially to keep the thing on the air. Obviously, this is not, a member of the Red Cross, so we need your advertising dollars. All that stuff helps. So thanks for listening to the show and supporting us. R.T. Dickson, the pilot of Swamp Fox, also has, and this is the big news, in restoration. It's one of the worst kept secrets in the world that you actually have an F-86 under restoration, not one, but two.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
That's what I've heard. Yes, I
thought the Super Cub was going to...
I was dropped on my head as a small child. I mean, there's...
Which brings me to my next point. If anybody has a good van down by the river, RT might want to go live in it here in the near future. So it
was reported years ago that I lived under a bridge, and that, every day brings that closer.
There you go. You've got an F-86 that's coming online, and in the Warbird community, I'm not poking fun at anybody, but we have some very outspoken people who follow vintage military aviation, and they often love to just nitpick. Nitpick's not even the right word. They like to just continuously bombard people with, well, this paint scheme is wrong, or if I had done it, I would have done this, and it's just nobody is happy. Nobody sees an airplane and they go, wow, that's beautiful.
I think it's appropriate to mention that we call those people rivet counters.
Yeah, but you know what I'm going with it. So you've had a great idea, and I love this idea. You have an F-86. It's going to be flown on the air show circuit.
That's the plan.
And you're going to do a demo in it, another great, easy demo on the airplane and on yourself, and tell the story, the historic story of the F-86. And I think that's great. It's another North American airplane. And just a great story to tell. I mean, Boots Blessé and all these other folks who flew the F-86 in such a storied past. You have decided that you're going to run a social media campaign, and the details will be worked out, but essentially you want people to nominate who is going to be honored with the paint scheme on this airplane.
Yes, we will be rolling out sometime in the future a survey, a contest, a suggestion box.
Yeah. Where you can submit a design and why. So why you think this is worthy.
And it has to be a historical design, so don't break out the crayons just yet. But yes, submit. We don't know whether it's just going to be list of 10, pick your favorite one, or have write-ins or whatnot. But something like that's coming down the pipe.
You probably have long since forgotten this, but one of the greatest things we ever did years and years ago. God bless. Do you remember the pink P-51 that we rolled out?
Oh yeah.
We didn't say who it was, who was doing it or anything like that, but we just said this is going to be. We had the guy that it wasn't even an April Fool's joke, if I remember right. We just kind of did it, and oh God, we took grief for that. So I promise you can hear me say it right now. On April 1, we will not announce RT Dickson's F-86 scheme. We won't do it that day. This is going to be legit. And it's going to be a great idea, and I hope you get a lot of participation on it. But here's the catch: you've got to go to Swamp Fox P-51 because that's your main presence right now on social media, and
that's what we've got right now. Yep.
Yeah, follow that because that's where it's going to be announced.
That's where it's going to be announced. Instagram or Facebook, Swamp Fox P-51, or on the website, swampfoxp51.com. We'll make the announcements on those venues.
Yeah, going to be great stuff. Where can folks see if they want to follow along and come see this demo we've been talking about with the Mustang and meet you in person? Where's a great place to find your schedule?
We've got the schedule on the website, and we've got a few shows upcoming. Thunder over Michigan's in 3 weeks. Just got back from from Wings over Muskegon, which was an incredible show. First time in 17 years that they've had an air show there. The people of Western Michigan were just phenomenally warm and inviting and welcoming, and we had a blast. But Thunder over Michigan, so sort of the Eastern Michigan side, will be there. A couple weeks after that, we will be in Debert, Nova Scotia, and looking forward to putting on the demo for our Eastern Canadian friends.
Just a little bit of a drive, not
that's right.
It's going to be nice though. That I'll tell you what, that Merlin's going to love that cool air up there, isn't it?
I'm excited, and the fires, thank heavens, have subsided in some places. So hopefully the smoke won't be too bad. But I hear the lobster and beer is great, so I'm excited.
There you go.
And then top secret in a few weeks after that, the Reno National Air Races, the last Reno National Air Races, are going to be held in Reno, and we'll be out there supporting as the plan.
Okay.
May even run the sticks a little bit. Who knows? We'll see.
Well, you are qualified, if I remember correctly.
Well, qualified is a strong word, but yes, I do have my racing card, my pilot's racing license.
You're that jerk that when you get pulled over, that's the first thing you pull out. And you say, "Oh, I'm sorry, officer. It's my air racing card."
Between that and visitor base pass I have at McIntyre, which.
Oh my goodness! See, most people don't disclose this kind of stuff. RT, you got to just keep it quiet and not talk about that stuff. But that's why I love you.
We always have a good time, and no, I'm not that kind of guy. But
not at all.
People do that, and it's funny to poke fun a little bit.
All right, so you go follow RT on Swamp Fox, and if you have a really, really cool idea for an F-86 that's historic, that you want to nominate, be watching, because the details will drop on this contest soon. It's not a contest. It's just a way to really pick something cool. I mean, you might see something that you've never seen before come across your desk and just decide right then that's the winner. But it's going to be a great platform for people to voice their opinion and have some buy-in on. I think it's
a great way to get engagement, right?
Yep.
I tend to be a shy guy, but we do this because we love sharing our passion for aviation, and hearing from people engaged is amazing. So,
all right, RT Dickson, Swamp Fox P-51, and soon an F-86.
Awesome talking to you, Matt.
All right, brother. Take care of yourself. We'll talk real soon here on WARBIRD Radio. Thanks again, everybody. Bye-bye.